and
Yeah.
others. So,
So quick question now, who owns this framework?
huh?
Who owns that framework that you just showed?
Ethics framework.
Yeah. Yes,
Who?
that's proprietary, somebody published it, where is this coming from?
Is there a standards committee that's
Yeah.
doing this, or the consortium? Who is, governing this?
This,
Yeah, that's what he's asking for.
this is actually from this presentation right here. You'll see the site.
Oh, I don't.
So it's not a, okay.
Yeah,
It's-
it's,
I'll give you, you can
Okay. Oh, good.
just
Cool.
just
I'll
keep
send it out. I'll send it out.
Yeah, but basically, I find this, and I use this in the course that I teach at Collin. It's a nice way of, if you're facing an issue or potential issue, it gives you something, almost a checklist to go by,
okay.
so that,
So that site has a checklist too?
no, this presentation is from that site.
Okay. Then which checklist are you talking about?
You could use this,
Okay, those? Okay.
recognize the moral issue, get the facts, not what you think, but what are the facts. Evaluate the alternatives from various moral perspectives, and then make a decision, act, and then, reflect. So it's
It's a
a
good
process.
process, yeah.
It gives you a process. If you're ever faced in a situation, I've actually used it in situations, because I've walked away from stuff. I said, for example, I worked for another company, very short, where the person in the company said, hey, I want you to create X, deliver it in an email, and take over the person's system. Well, I said, do I have legal authority? Well, the company gave you, the person who I was working for at the time said, well, I've already got permission from the company. I said, no, I need legal, I need my basically get out of jail card, is what I call it. You need a legal opinion saying that you can do this. Moreover, I go even one step more. From the company, if I do something, I want to be sure that I'm not held liable for anything that could cause an issue downstream. For example, if I touch their financial system, which I want to know beforehand, I don't want to even touch a financial system. Because if they're doing paychecks or a credit, a run on paying vendors, I don't want to take down the financial system. So we got into a tug of war, and I finally said, I'm leaving. And it actually goes against, because you need that legal opinion. You need that legal opinion to protect you and protect the customer.
And who do you obtain that legal opinion from?
Hopefully from the general counsel of that company, or a third-party law firm that is working on behalf of the organization that you are going to penetrate.
Not an adversarial firm.
No,
Right.
no.
So at Collin College, this is part of which course that you teach some course?
Security Management Practices, Module 3.
Part of what? Part of which course?
It's the cybersecurity course. The capstone course is Security Management Practices. That's the course I teach.
Okay.
One of the modules is law, privacy, and ethics. So some of these slides come from the ethics part. What I did with the videos was put that in because this is Certified Ethical Hacker course. I thought it good that at least have some things that you can look at the code of ethics and say, that don't work, that don't work, that don't work, that don't work, to identify some of the issues, which could be some of the questions. Because I understand there's at least 3 questions. Or there's a number of questions that deal with the code of ethics. Specifically, I couldn't tell you.
So before I forget, Rich, You mentioned a book. That
Yes.
is
Yeah,
also
yeah,
in the
yeah.
risk
I'll-
and analysis, remember? Oh, are you getting that? Okay.
Oh, risk analysis?
I don't know. The
Okay,
book,
you mean from the conference?
From the conference.
The
I
Jennings
didn't,
book?
I didn't make a note of it,
The
but
code ethics guidelines thing, right? Or
I'm sorry?
the book you mentioned was by Jennings.
The 7 signs of corporate.
Some
Yeah,
corporate
well,
ethics.
okay, the book that you're talking about,
in the relation with
Is-
M-score.
okay, well,
Oh, that's
let-
a
Health of
on
enterprise.
this, it's basically FAIR. There's a book out by FAIR that it's a process to do quantitative risk assessment. The book before that I would recommend is Douglas Hubbard's book on how you can measure almost anything. That's his first book. His last one is how to measure risk and how to measure risk cybersecurity. So it's Douglas Hubbard. It came out last year.
How to measure risk cybersecurity by Hubbard.
Yeah.
Are you sharing that? Is part of your?
I don't,
presentation?
if I had my computer up here, I'd have my Kindle
Oh, okay.
where
okay,
I'd say, here are the books. What I'll do is I'll send you an email.
Then I'll share with everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You can do quantitative risk assessment, not just qualitative. Qualitative doesn't mean anything. Quantitative at least gives you a spectrum where you can determine, okay, this is what I'm facing.
But you can't totally rid yourself of subjectivity, though. I mean,
No.
Right.
But at least what you have is a process. And what you've done is taken in the totality of what does this really mean from an enterprise perspective? It's not just an IT asset. Information is your largest asset in any company. And what business functions or functions would be either hindered, stopped, denied, whatever you want to make it. So what portion of the business? It's very much from a business standpoint. It's really enterprise information risk management, which is part of information governance. Information governance is an enterprise function. If you want to ask where the CISO should be put within an organization, I'll give you an opinion there too.
Yeah, tell. I'd be interested.
Not in IT.
Where?
Not in IT.
Anywhere else, or do you have a recommendation as where?
Depending upon the maturity of the organization, you can either have it in risk or legal. If
Risk
it-
or what?
Legal.
Legal.
General
So
counsel.
that would then fall under like compliance?
No,
No?
no.
Why not compliance?
Security is not compliance.
Yeah, that's.
There's a
that's
problem
enough.
with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want information security, cybersecurity, whatever you want to call it. I'm still from the old school of information security because information is not only soft copy, there's also hard copy.
Yeah.
So you need to carry both spectrums.
So what do you think about somebody who puts a
But
CISO
people
in HR?
use conflict and information security, don't know what it is. They do that, but they're different.
I'd ask why, because you want to be, the closer you are to the actual business.
Compliance is different from security, right? You're
Oh, yeah.
making sure that you comply with your standards, but it doesn't deal
I-
with your threats and your breaches.
To
So
end-
they're two different parts of this thing.
And I'm not just making this up. If you query Texas CISO Council, they have an essentials document. They talk about the 5 areas of an information that should be part of an information security program. One of them is governance, security policy, measurement metrics, framework, risk management are your 5 core areas. And in there, depending upon the maturity of the organization, see, if the CISO is in IT, predominantly, I mean, this is general statement, it's viewed outside the organization as still being technical.
Correct.
Isn't that
And,
kind of like the wolf watching the hen house, too?
well, I bring that up too, yeah,
Right.
segregation of duty, toxic combination. Totally agree. Ideally, chief operating officer, because that's the business, or the CEO. I actually have a clip that I used the first day of class, just a thing that shows the difference where the CISO reports to the CEO versus IT. You actually have more uptime, less chance of a breach with the CISO reporting to the CEO. The other thing that I want to point out, and I brought this document, this is by the National Association of Corporate Directors. This just came out. If you do an internet search, you should be able to get a copy without paying for it. It cost me $50. Actually, it cost me $100 to go to luncheon, but that's a whole other thing. And great time. It's an organization. I mean, these are corporate directors. These are people that sit on boards of directors. So in here, they talk about 5 principles.
What are those?
5 principles?
Are those ones you just mentioned a minute ago?
No,
What's the
actually,
difference there?
no. That's. I mean, that's what a program should have. But from a director, directors need to understand and approach cybersecurity as an enterprise-wide risk management issue, not just an IT issue. Directors should understand the legal implications of cyber risk as they relate to their company's specific circumstances. Boards should have adequate access to cybersecurity expertise and discuss what cyber risk management should be given an adequate time on the board meeting agendas. Directors should be set expectation that management will establish an enterprise-wide risk management framework with adequate staffing and budget. Board management discussions about cyber risk should include identification of what risk to avoid, which to accept, which to mitigate or transfer through insurance, as well as specific plans associated with each approach. When they talk about board of directors, if you can get your hands on this, and I think I've got a soft copy that I can give. It,
NACD.
yeah, National Association of Corporate Directors.
So how do you
Going
categorize?
up, are you there?
I've got one more thing that I
One
can
more thing,
do.
all right, okay.
But-
Take 2-3 minutes and then we'll continue our workshop.
I'm sorry for taking so long.
How do you categorize personal information? Isn't it part of compliance and security as well?
Which personal info, if you're talking United States privacy, it is so convoluted that, let's use what the FTC says. Because basically through Wyndham versus FTC or FTC versus Wyndham, anybody that's doing commerce on the internet where personal information is processed is susceptible to FTC. That case gives FTC that authority. They have a couple of handouts that they say, okay, this is what organizations should do. This is where we get into the whole thing about reasonable. What is reasonable? Now, in case of Wyndham, they didn't have firewalls and a whole bunch of stuff, which typically you would see in an infrastructure. So they weren't doing their due diligence. Back to personal information, they have a definition of personal information,
Okay.
which I believe is tied to a U.S. code. But privacy, that's the problem with privacy in the United States, is because HIPAA says one, HIPAA High-Tech says one thing, GLBA says another, and there's wiggle room to exclude stuff. Now, if you European Union or Canada with PIPEDA in Canada and with the new General Data Protection Regulation, which is coming up in March.
I think October
May.
2018, May 2018.
May 28th.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a game changer. And U.S. companies, there may be probably U.S. companies that aren't prepared. Now, this topic was supposed to be ethics. Personal information, typically you have a social security number, bank account, credit card, PIN, health information, and
Okay, account
uh,
numbers,
uh,
yeah.
other stuff. Where some of the ethic issues come in is big data. And how I visualize some of this data. Now, even information that is de-anonymized can actually be reversed. So even though you have de-anonymized data, you can actually reverse that process.
Desanitize or
Yeah.
sanitize?
You can actually reverse the process. I don't know if you want to watch this last one. It's about anonymous, but does it kind of give you a flavor? You know, what I tried to do is give you a spectrum here. It's different from what you're getting in the course, but think of it as what you need to do in what you're doing right now in current position and in the future, because we all will face ethical challenges. I don't care where you are. You may face them daily, but at least maybe potentially this gives you an avenue to think about things and a process to handle that situation. So I really appreciate coming out here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if you emailed that anonymous